I mean, now when you look at it, you might feel like, hey, it seems like Stark is very strategic about kind of, hey, let's build in a pillar, in UI UX, let's build a pillar in programming and engineering, just so that we can do the interesting things in between. But to be honest, at the start, it's not that strategic. It was just simply because we see that like design is moving into this space, and to do cool stuff, you need to get this new discipline in.
Welcome to another episode of Stuck in Design. Each week, we pose questions to three founders, Donn, Jieyu or Tze, who run award-winning design agency, Stuck. They'll share with us tips and lessons on design, creativity, and business. Without further ado, let's get into it.
I was actually just curious about, I guess, how, like when you were talking about kind of bringing in new disciplines, right? Is there like a thing that sparks like the change? Like, does it just come naturally? Is it something new that happens in the industry, or like what triggers that need or that want to either expand, evolve, or just change lah? Yeah, like are there triggers?
I think there are some changes that happen or emerge in the world with regards to, in this case, fundamentally technology, right? Where that change has many ripple effects with things that are closely related to design, right? Like, for example, some kind of cultural shift, I mean the opposite example, some kind of cultural shift, hypothetically, right, where people start to become super interested in like deconstructivist art, right? That kind of cultural shift may not have that much implications for us because it doesn't change so much the work that we do or enable the kind of work that we do. Maybe it might, for a period of time, affect a bit the skinning of the work we do. But there are some changes, like in the recent years, for example, just with sensor miniaturization and its accessibility, that like, every single object can be just a bit smarter, right? Or just a bit more active or more alive, or and since we are largely in the world of objects and solutions that people use and touch, naturally such shifts will affect a lot of the things that we do. And if we don't consider this as part of the palette that we use to paint our solutions, then we are just like still operating in the black and whites, right? When everybody else is kind of like playing the hues. So, there are some changes that are more naturally affecting design, and you can't just ignore it. You can for a while, and slowly become obsolete. But like the moment that we are talking about how do I give you an example? I'll give you a bad example. The moment we're talking about like tables having a mind of its own, right? Versus and what questions and possibilities that opens up, right? Versus us still thinking, nothing wrong with that, but just if we're just purely operating in the space of, say, how do we join this leg to the surface, right? Then we are not, it's not also kind of trying to chase a trend. We just aren't using the resources that are available to us to maximize the potential for people. And fundamentally, I think what drives Stuck, and maybe what drives me more, is that I quite believe that we are mainly in the business of taking resources, organizing them for their best value that it can deliver in a cliche way to the world, right? Or for humanity, right? And that permeates every single thing we do, including and actually it's necessary for us to examine, are we putting, say, a teammate in the right role? Because this is kind of also part of the organizing of resources for the best impact, right? So when the resource of an emergent new tech area appears, but we're not looking at it, then we're missing the potential of getting the best value out of the other things that we use, like we use wood, we use plastic, or we use what, in an object. we stay with that, we get this certain value. The moment that we bring in another augmentation, suddenly these same resources with a bit more produces something else completely different that is of maybe a much higher value to a new audience or to an emerging audience. So actually a few things change, right? Technology changes, audience changes, context changes. So I think we're always about trying to find the best resonant point to compose a set of ingredients together that's available for its maximum maximum is not the right word, but optimal kind of value that it creates. So that's one thing that has evolved that help us understand like what Stuck is, can be or cannot be. We cannot, I think, do projects just for money, right? So that's one. I think there are businesses that can be very passionate about that, and then the team is very motivated of doing that, right? I think we cannot. The directors are not like that. Neither are the teammates, because I think we just attract the same kind of people. So that help us clarify like the types of projects, or at least in one aspect, the types of projects that we would do or we wouldn't do. So if I were to go back again to earlier days, what drove the way we decided on projects to take earlier on was a bit more like, I mean, now when you look at it, you might feel like, hey, it seems like Stuck is very strategic about kind of, hey, let's build in a pillar, in UI UX, let's build a pillar in programming and engineering, just so that we can do the interesting things in between. But to be honest, at the start, it's not that strategic. It was just simply because we see that like design is moving into this space, and to do cool stuff, you need to get this new discipline in, and it's an area where we can have some influence over, control its output, and then like compose it together for a solution, right? And it just begin to point to projects needing that. It just maybe the simple single silo kind of projects just were missing the edge of like having something digital linked to it. So then naturally we just roped in, right, UI UX very early. I think we're one of the earliest players in this field, to the point where like now I think we're like one of the first ones to exit it. No, I don't mean that, but it's just like, yeah, we were one of the first in Singapore, I think, to really pretend to know how to do it. When I say that, I mean that like, at Stuck is a bit like this. Every emerging field is like that one. You will have maybe not even established education in that area, and then as designers, some of these domains are very closely related. You can manipulate it, which means that you can design with it, right? It's just that you're not so familiar with it. Nobody was at the time in Singapore anyway. So by kind of like saying that we can do it and taking on projects with that kind of confidence, right? In a way, we were, if we look back at now, right, we would say that, at the time we were a little bit naive, right? We thought we could do it well. But at that point in time, we probably were the best, right? Because nobody knew how to do it. So by plowing into it and by growing those areas, firstly we nailed the very first project, and because we just put so much time to learn to do it and then to make it happen, then we naturally became able to do it, right? And I think that started a bit of a habit of, just chasing where innovation would go. It started a habit of being very open to new disciplines that could have potential, just potential opportunities, right? When you want to intervene for people. So therefore, you will see us, and you have probably seen us, over the years, increase like a scope in programming, increase like a scope now, say with Akbar, to bring in tinkering. First with Kotaro, right, where we were also a bit uncertain, right, to even propose to clients, can we do this? Yes, right. But we don't say it irresponsibly. When we kind of like we judge it and we say, yeah, we can do it, then we really will deliver, right. And that has now become almost like a really important part of Stark. People are hard to find in this area, and kind of thankfully we have Akbar now joining us to fill in that zone. So I mean, there are many facets to this question, right? I've answered two facets. One is just really from a practical standpoint, the type of work that or the character of the team can do or cannot do. We can't do quickie, low budget things just to make money. We can't do that. And then there's the other character of it, constantly evolving and growing that kind of intersection across disciplines. But I mean, doing that, the key distinctive is that we have to be very good at crossing disciplines, even disciplines that we've never worked with before, right? So that's two parts.
Thanks for joining us today on Stuck in Design. See you next week for more tips on design, creativity, and business.